Hello, Seahawks. Today you're going to be taking notes on multiplying and dividing integers. Okay, here's your notes page that you're going to be taking your notes right on. Looks like this. You should have this with you. I handed that out to you. And the first thing and the only thing you really need to know about multiplying and dividing integers, this is really simple. You have to just remember this. I know you may have learned a different way to do this, but this is the best way to learn it. Okay? Or the best way to remember it. If you count up your negative numbers, doesn't matter how many positives you have, however many negative numbers you have, if you have an even number of negatives, your answer is a positive. So if you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 36, 98, 144 negative numbers, your answer will be positive. If you have an odd number of negatives, your answer will be negative. So if you have 1 negative, 5 negatives, 13 negatives, 21 negatives, okay? We obviously won't be multiplying those big numbers, but I'm just trying to let you know that if you have lots of numbers that you're multiplying, you could quickly figure out if it's a positive or negative answer by just looking at the problem and counting how many negatives you have. Now, you already learned how to multiply positive numbers. You learned 3 times 7 is 21, okay? You don't have any negative numbers. Your answer is positive. But when you have positives and negatives in a multiplication or division problem, if you have an odd number of negatives, your answer's negative. If you have an even number of negatives, your answer's positive. And I've had kids, right before they're about to multiply or divide integers, they put this: even equals positive, odd equals negative. Now, that's not an even number. It's an even amount of negatives and an odd amount of negatives. Okay, so let's try this out. Example number 1, you have negative 12 times 4. Well, you have 1 negative, right? And 1 is odd, so your answer is going to be a negative. And then you just do the multiplication. You need to know your multiplication facts. 12 times 4, you should know right off the top of your head, is 48. And I'm actually going to write across here because I don't have this part. You have it right up there. But I don't have it on this, so I'm going to just write it. Odd equals negative, even equals positive. I'm just going to put that on, and that's a good habit for you to do when you're taking a test or doing a paper or anything with positive and negatives and you're multiplying or dividing. Number 2, I have 2 negatives. 2 is even. So when you have an even number of negatives, your answer is positive 56. Now, you don't have to put that positive sign there. I'm just doing it just to get that down. But obviously, you could just write 56. Okay, number 3, I have division. Same rule. I have how many negatives? I only have 1 negative. So 1 negative. 1 is odd. So my answer is negative. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, let's try the next couple. Number 4. How many negatives do I have on number 4? I have 1, 2. 2 negatives. 2 is even. So my answer is going to be positive. And then you do the division. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Okay, number 5. How many negatives do I have? 1, 2, 3. 3 negatives. The number 3 is odd. 3 is an odd number. So my answer is negative. And then you just do the multiplication. Now on this problem, I would do 2 times 5. Well, actually, you could do it any way you want. It's pretty simple. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 times 5 is 60. You should know those facts off the top of your head. If you wanted to do 2 times 5 is 10, and then 10 times 6 is 60, that's fine too. But that's easy enough. Okay, number 6. We have how many negatives? 1, 2. 2 negatives. Okay, 2 is even. So my answer is positive. And on this one, I would multiply 2 times 4 first, which is 8, and then 8 times 9, which is 72. Because you can multiply that however you want. The associative property, same thing with multiplication as addition. We reviewed that when we were doing adding. Okay, you can change that. If it's all multiplication straight across, you can multiply it any way you want. And 9 times 2 is 18. 18 times 4, you don't know off the top of your head. But you know 2 times 4 is 8, and then 8 times 9 is 72. Those are multiplication facts you should know off the top of your head. Okay? If you want to try the next couple on your own, the next 2, and then see how you do, and then go on with that, that's fine. You can pause the video now. I'm going to go on to the next one, number 7. We have 1 negative. 1 is odd. So, odd. What did I write before? I don't even remember. Hold on one second. Sorry, scratch that. Okay. How many negatives do I have on number 7? I have 1 negative. So 1 is odd. So my answer is going to be a negative. And then you could do the multiplication. This one's easy enough to do right across. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. Pretty simple. Okay, number 8. How many negatives do I have? I have 1, 2. I have 2 negatives. Okay, 2 is even. So my answer is going to be positive. And, I mean, however you want to do this, I would do 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 7 is 70. And again, on those positives, you don't have to have the positive sign. I'm just getting my positive negative out of the way, and then I do the math, the multiplication or the division. Okay, let's take a look at numbers 9 and 10. If you wanted to pause, try these out. There's a lot of numbers there, but try them out and see how you do, and then put the video on and see if you got it right. Okay, let's see number 9. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. So if I have 5 negatives, 5 is odd, so my answer is negative. Okay, now we could just go through and do the multiplication. We don't have to worry about if I have a positive or a negative number. I know my answer is going to be negative. Okay, on this one, I would move these numbers around a little, maybe do, now be careful there because that's number 9. That's not included in the multiplication. I would do 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. And, sorry, hold on. Sorry about that. Okay, so again, we have 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 1 is 100. And 100 times 8 is 800. Okay, and you want to try and, change those numbers in an order. That makes it easier for you to multiply. This next one isn't so easy to multiply, but right away we could figure out if my answer is positive or negative. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives. 4 negatives, the number 4 is even, so my answer is a positive. Okay, that's out of the way. Now I could do some multiplication here. I think I would do 4 times 3 is 12, and then 12 times 2 is 24. I would try to do as much in my head as I could. And then I would do 24 times 6, and I'm just going to do a little math over here. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 is 144. Okay, so now I multiplied my 2, my 4, my 6, my 3. Okay, times 1 is 144, and then I'm just going to multiply 144 times 7. So 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 2 is 30. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is 10. So the answer is 1008. And that we already figured out was a positive answer. Okay, next one. Again, pause the video. Try these on your own. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. Okay, the number 5 is odd. So my answer is going to be negative. And how would I multiply this? Let's see. I would do 5 times 5 is 25. And then I would do 25 times 2 is 50. And then I would do 50 times 4 times 6, which is 24. So 24 times 50. If you could do that in your head, that's awesome. I'm just going to show you the multiplication just so I don't make a silly mistake on this in my head. The answer is 1,200. Negative 1,200, of course, but I already figured that part out. Okay, number 12, I have 1, 2, 3 negatives. So 3 is odd, so my answer is a negative. Now we could do the multiplication. I would do, I don't know, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 5 is 20, and then 6 times 6 is 36. So 36 times 20 is easy enough really to do in your head, but that would be 720. We already figured out it's a negative answer. So when you're doing these, get the positive and negative answer. Put your positive or your negative down. Or if it's positive, you could just leave it. If it's a negative, put your negative down, and then do the multiplication or the division. Okay? And we will discuss this in class the day this is due. Thank you, and have a great night.